Yeah.
So it's there. Use it. Um, dude, I wasn't recording. I just realized that. That was so good. Hey guys, this is episode 9 of the Will and Cody show. We appreciate you guys listening. Today we're going to talk about stimulus checks. They're back.
Yeah, they're back. Better than ever.
Right? They're bigger than ever. This is the biggest stimulus checks that we've gotten. But I do think the requirements are a little bit, I guess, more so. There's a lot more that you have to meet to qualify for them. But I think it was like 80% of Americans are qualifying for them. This go around. So I haven't gotten mine yet, but William has, so I'm jealous.
Yeah, mine dropped yesterday. So I bank with Wells Fargo. So I got that in yesterday into our account. And so, Cody, who do you bank with? Why is this?
Yeah, I know, right? Bank of America, but I know people that have Bank of America that already got theirs. So I don't think it's a bank thing.
I think it's a you problem.
It's not. That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
I know I qualify, but it's a great opportunity. Whether you agree with the stimulus checks or not, it's coming to your bank account anyway if you qualify.
Right.
So
might as well use it.
Except me, apparently. But it's a great opportunity. You might as well use it. You could start an emergency fund, a mini emergency fund before you pay off debt. Use it to pay off debt. Use it to stimulate the economy.
Yeah,
there's so much you could do. But we just ask you to use it wisely. Look at your financial situation. If it's if it's something that can help you boost your financial situation, then we beg you, please use it.
Yeah.
Use it to your advantage.
Yeah. Use it.
Don't go buy a big screen TV if you've got debt.
Right. Or if you know somebody that could really use it, don't buy a big screen TV. Pretty much. Yeah,
that's absolutely. Yeah, if you don't need it, please consider giving it. I know a lot of people that did that last time, and they said they were doing that this time. They said their finances were in order. They didn't have any debts, or emergency fund was good. And they said, you know what? There's other people out there in need, and they were going to give it to them. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. I saw this interesting statistic the other day that I think it was a good portion of millennials were saying that they're planning on putting half in stock. And I think it's just it's just a sign of the times that we're living in, where the stock market and finance is becoming such a popular topic that I think people are recognizing that and wanting to get a part of it. I think they're missing it a little bit, but it's kind of interesting that a lot of people surveyed would say I'm totally going to put about half of this or more, into the stock market. So I think people getting close to the right idea. They just got a little bit, they're almost there, just a little bit further to not invest in meme stocks and stuff like that.
Yeah, please don't. I think the whole hashtag GME is what started this.
Right. Yeah.
I know a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm getting into stocks now. I got a Robinhood account. Let's go.
Yeah.
And, it's cool. It's fun. And GameStop is actually back up to 200.
It is back. Yeah.
It is back. It is. The short squeeze continues. If that's inspired you to invest, then we're happy. But if it's inspired you to invest in GME, please go listen to our last couple of podcasts over. I think it was 5 or 6 where we talked about this when it first started. So definitely go check that out if you're interested in GME. Please go listen to that.
Which I called it early. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I was like, this is totally going to be a documentary. And I don't know if you saw it, but there's already a documentary on Hulu about it. And I'm like, how long has it been? And they're already into making a full-on documentary. And so it's they don't even, we don't even know the ramifications of what we're going to see effects on for the next year or so, but we're already coming out with documentaries and stuff, interviewing
I think
a
it
bunch
came
of
out
people.
Before even the hearing with the owner of Robinhood.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So I knew it was going to be made into a documentary, but it was a lot faster than I thought it was going to be, for sure.
You called it, bro.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it was just you can kind of tell when it's going to be this is going to be a perfect Netflix documentary. So I can't wait till Netflix drops. But
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So it'd be interesting. So anyway, but
definitely something to watch.
They're here. You should be coming for most of us. So I think same advice as what we said last time. But Cody, for those who can see us who are watching, we do need to talk about your hand. So it's been a little bit since we've recorded. And so we kind of need to talk about Cody's hand.
Yeah.
It looks to me like it's in a cast, but I guess it's not an actual cast.
Kind of.
Yeah. Temporary cast, if you will.
Like a brace or I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go to the beginning.
Yeah.
My church decided to play some softball. I had joined a softball league, so I was like, sure, I'll do it. And let's just say I'm not good at softball. And so we'll start with that. So something about you're supposed to secure the ball when you're in the outfield. So I had my glove in one hand and this hand in the other, and then I was supposed to do like this motion right here to secure the ball, and I did it too soon. And so anyway, the softball hit here. So to my knowledge, I have just a couple of severely bruised fingers and a fracture on my hand towards my pinky. So nothing major, but it hurts.
Yeah.
And but I did learn something from it, that emergency funds are awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
And so when I'm in a lot of pain, because I wasn't in a lot of pain at first, I thought I just jammed it, no big deal.
Right, yeah.
But as the pain started to sit, I was like, this sucks. The Tylenol wasn't working, and so my wife said, you need to go get this checked out. So I head over to an urgent care, and we don't have health insurance. We have a MediShare program. So it's not something that they would cover. So I told them, don't have insurance. And so really nice place. And they wrapped it up in this. I'm not really sure what this is. And they said, see me in a week. But it wasn't too bad. It cost like $155. Okay. But that's not something I budgeted for.
Right.
So what do? I use my emergency fund.
Yeah.
And I haven't used my emergency fund in forever. And so at first I was scared and I didn't want to. And my wife was like, that's what it's there for.
That's literally what it's there for.
It's not an investment. It's literally insurance. Yeah. You broke your hand. And so I'm literally like finagling. I'm like, oh, well, maybe like we can like not eat for 2 weeks and then I can pay for this. And my wife's reminding me like, it's an emergency fund, use it.
Yeah, so that would classify. I think sometimes like even too when you're in pain and you're like, should I go? That's always the debate is like, do I actually want to use either my insurance or my emergency fund? And it's like, okay, at the end of the day, that's literally what it's there for. So it's okay, to go and use it. So it just reminded me
like the pros and cons for that.
Go
for it.
It just reminded me, there's this old episode of Malcolm in the Middle. It was actually just featured on WandaVision. So throwing that out there for anybody that watches that. So there's this old episode of Malcolm in the Middle where Malcolm's like, his dad forgets to pay their health insurance. And so like he goes about like his life and he's like trying to cover it up. And then he accidentally is like doing some home improvement and he breaks his leg. And so literally the rest of the episode is him like trying to hide a broken leg from his wife because he forgot to pay the health insurance. And so he like doesn't want to go to a hospital. So don't end up in that situation, please. Even though it's comedic in the episode. You don't want that in real life. So good for you, Cody, of just kind of taking it and just using your emergency fund. And it's not too bad, as you mentioned. It's only
it's not. It's not. But when stuff like that happens, and if you haven't used your emergency fund in a while, you can kind of forget like, okay, how do I know when I need to use it? Because sometimes it's good questions to ask yourself. When should you use it? Is it urgent? Is it necessary? And does it need to be taken care of immediately? If it's something you could budget for, then you're fine. But, I couldn't exactly budget for it in 5 minutes when they're giving me my x-ray and then saying, okay, you owe me this amount of money. So it's going to come out of somewhere. So, my wife kind of had to remind me, that's what it's there for. We kind of went through the pros and cons. Honestly, we went through the pros and cons of even going to the urgent care. And I'm kind of glad I listened to my wife. So listen to your wife, guys.
Number one.
They know what's best. Because at first I was like, just jammed it. It's no big deal. I don't want to pay that money. No, touch my emergency fund. Yeah, I'm glad I did. I probably wouldn't be able to move my hand. So
that's good. So no irreversible damage, hopefully, and hopefully your appointment comes back. Yeah, I always especially too. I always overthink that going in or not. So like my wife wasn't feeling well, 2 months ago. And it turned out she was fine. She just had some like bad food poisoning from a place we decided to eat from. So there were regrets from that meal. But she ended up getting food poisoning, but we were worried it was like something worse. So we're like, we don't know if we should go all the way to an urgent care, or something like that, or an ER. And so we're like, we'll just use like the virtual doctor things. Like we have one with my work and it's pretty cheap. And so we decided to use it. And we're like, telling them like all the symptoms and everything. And basically what they say is just like, yeah, you should go to the ER or you should go to, an urgent care, one of those like walk-in urgent care clinics. And we're like, well, that's great. We just wasted this call with a doctor just for you to tell me to go see another doctor. But it was nice, knowing that, okay, it is legitimate enough, that we should go in. But yeah, that's always the piece that I overthink is like, should I even go in or should I just muscle it out and take care of it? But it usually is worth it to just go in, make sure nothing's wrong. So good for you doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's
what emergency funds are for, man.
Yeah, it is.
Were you worried? Like, I think it's obviously a little bit of would you say peace of mind? Like, did you have to think about the money side of it? I don't know. Were you stressed about that?
Not really. I mean, it's really nice to have it there when you are having to think about other things like logistics of how is work gonna play out? How is, how am I gonna be able to, sign the paperwork, so I'm right-handed, this is my right hand. And all these other things, but money was not the worry. Once I got past the whole, I got to use my emergency fund, it was over. It was done, and, I know how that my emergency fund is going to be rebuilt. It's going to be through margin, which I already have. And so, all these things, it was just a peace of mind, not just for me, but for my wife. My wife's not having to worry about it. Now she's having to worry about the other things like the day-to-days, taking care of me, right. Stuff like that. And so money-wise, it wasn't a big a deal. I will say, though, make sure that you have your emergency fund in a good place. And what I mean by that, don't have it in something that's not easily accessible, but then something that's too easily accessible. So I wouldn't recommend it in like a checking account attached to maybe a debit card, because then you might be really tempted to spend it. But in our case, it was just a savings account that I could transfer to my checking and then just swipe card and handle it. Of course, my card was declined several times, so my wife had to pay for it. Nice. Yeah, so we had to transfer, and it was a whole ordeal. But we knew the money was there, so no big deal.
Right.
But man, I used to have an emergency fund card. I had a bank that would literally they printed out cards specifically for emergency fund, and I had a savings and a checking for the emergency fund. There was like $1,000 in the checking, and then the rest was in the savings. And that's what that bank was for, is my emergency bank. And they printed out little cards that said emergency fund. It was great. But then found out when I had an emergency, I needed to put a battery in our car. I went to swipe, car didn't work. So I had to finagle around, had to use Cash App and some other things to get the money to buy the battery and such. And then I go to the bank, I say, well, what happened? They say, oh, you need to make a transaction every 30 days or else the card will. Yeah.
Ouch.
And so found out that even though I had this great idea of having emergency fund cards, it wasn't a great idea. So definitely play out scenarios of, having to go to an urgent care, having to put a battery in your car, having to go to a mechanic, having to, just take care of something or anything that's an emergency. Play those scenarios out so that way you don't have to stress about where's the money going to come from.
Yeah.
Am I going to have limitations with my bank? Am I only going to be able to make certain transactions at a time? See, I know that my emergency fund's in a savings account, but I do have a limit of how many times I can pull out of it. So there is, that something I have to keep in the back of my mind. And so just definitely play those scenarios out. It is going to help you make those times that are coming less stressful, so you can focus more on the injury or the problem at hand.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. I think it's good in those stressful times to not have one more thing to worry about. We already worry, way too much. And so having, to worry about money in an already stressful situation just can be a lot. So I know we say it a lot, but I think the stress-free nature of that is really rewarding, to just be able to be in the moment. You just worried about your health. You didn't have to argue with your wife about like, oh, we don't have this money, so I can't go see a doctor. But it's like, okay, we got the money, let's go get taken care of, and it's not as big of a deal. So I think it's just such a powerful thing, just a weight off your shoulders, I'm sure, during that. And so that's just something that we've talked about before, but we still would just recommend, in that. And I'd say, like, it can be difficult seeing an emergency fund just sit there. Like, I trying to think, since I fully funded my emergency fund, I don't think I've had to touch it. And it's been like a few years, but I know that the money's there. I don't have a huge chunk of change that's sitting there, but enough to get us by. And it's nice, just peace of mind, sleep well at night, knowing it's there, ready to go. So I think it's just really rewarding for that, for that aspect of it. So
absolutely.
But hopefully your hand heals up fine. It is difficult. Not like you don't know how much you use something till you lose it. Like, you don't know how much you use your big toe till you stub it or something. It's like, it's one of those things where you don't know how much you use your hand until you can't. So
opening bottles is really fun, and then typing is fun. So editing this video is going to be great. So it may take a little bit longer to get this out.
Might be about 3 weeks. 3 weeks lag time on the editing. No, I appreciate it. You'll do fine with that. It just may be a little bit slower. So no worries. So another thing I wanted to talk about. So thanks for going in detail with your hand. So hopefully it heals up soon and doesn't cost you a bunch more money.
For real.
But another thing that I've seen people talk about on like Twitter and different financial communities, especially during going back to the whole the GameStop thing, is something where they call the fear of missing out, and you just call it FOMO or FOMO. And so it's a big thing as far as you see a big either a stock that's spiking up, or some investment that's given a crazy return, and you feel like, oh man, I wish I would have had some of that in that. And then you either, scrape up some extra money to throw in that, or you sell what you're, already have invested to go jump on that. And, it's basically just, instead of sticking with your plan, you decided to put either everything or just a few portion of it into something else just because other people were making money, because you felt like you were missing out on it. And so I think that could be a big thing, especially nowadays. I feel like people are just chasing the next big spike, and trying to anticipate it or jump on all these trends. And so how do you yourself limit your own fear of missing out? If it's truly good, like, I need to focus on my plan, not what these other people are doing. How do you stay focused on that and not get distracted by, if people are making a bunch of money on, meme stocks or, penny stocks or stuff like that?
Yeah. So FOMO is fear of missing out. And that's a term that I just learned today. Thank you, William. But it's something that I've experienced several times. So it's kind of cool to have an acronym.
Just actually naming it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's actually a title now that I can reference. I get it all the time. I mean, I'm not kidding, all the time. Sometimes I'll look at like my emergency fund and see how much is in it, and I'm like, oh, if I had invested that in GME, oh my goodness, I'd be a millionaire or whatever. And that's not wise at all. Please don't do that. But we have those times where we see people succeeding, and in something so trivial, so simple. I mean, we've said that all the time. My parents will say, "Man, if I just bought Apple." Right. Man, if I just bought Home Depot. Home Depot is a big one. Google, Coke, things like that. Shoot, if in our lifetime, if we bought Tesla, right? If I just bought Tesla, Amazon, I'd be a millionaire. So, stuff like that is, we reference day trading and things like that to gambling. It's really not, but it kind of is. There's just a lot of risk involved. And, it was someone like this whole GME thing. Mm-hmm. The people that made the money were the ones before it became popular, before you and I even heard about it.
Yeah. If you hear about it, usually it's too late.
Yeah. That's a really good rule of thumb. If you're hearing about it, it's gone. It's over. When it's on Fox Business, you already missed out, right?
Yeah, usually.
So there's some people that got lucky, and there's a lot of people that got lucky, and the props to them for being successful and doing that. By the way, there's this thing called capital gains tax. You guys should probably check that out.
Fun.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend looking at that. But props to them. But Will and I, we talk about a more proven plan, a plan that's been around for a long time, that people have succeeded day after day after day through. And the one, I guess you say what keeps me on the plan is the book Everyday Millionaire.
That's a good one.
That's it. When you look at data, when you look at statistics for a large group of people, I think it was 10,000 millionaires that were studied on that study. And you can also reference The Millionaire Next Door. That's a good one, but it's a little bit older. Most of the people that were successful that became millionaires were through their 401ks. Yeah. And that was something that was just, they really didn't think about it, but they worked towards it, chugging along, and it just so happens they became millionaires. And that out of a study of 10,000, I think it was 80% said that they used their 401ks. That's significant. Mm-hmm. That is significant. And so that kind of proves to me that the slow and steady wins the race is the best mindset to have with this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, I wish that I had been in on many, many, many things. If we knew the future, we'd all be rich.
Yeah.
But we do know statistics and data, and that data shows that, the stuff that we teach, dollar cost averaging, diversified portfolios, looking at, mutual funds and attached to a tax advantaged retirement account consistently day after day, just chugging along, having margin, things like that are really what make a lot of people successful. And it's proven, it's happened before. And so that's for me, that book right there is what kind of keeps me from the fear of missing out, or the FOMO disease, I guess is what it is.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think, if you have confidence in your plan that you've set in place, it's so much easier to rely on that. And then, one thing too, if I have a plan that, I know is going to work, why would I want to divert to something else? You know what I mean? Like, if I have a plan that I know is proven, I'm comfortable with, I'm investing in things I know are going to get me to my goals in an amount that'll get me to my goals. I will always look for ways to get there faster, or different stuff. But if it's good with my timeline and what I want, then what am I doing looking, somewhere else? You know what I mean? If I've got a plan, I'm confident this is the way I want to go, then I need to stick with it. And so I'm not chasing after every trend, because, man, you're going to hit some, you're going to lose some. It's just the way it's going to be if you just keep up with every trend. And again, if you're hearing about it, you're usually too late. That's just kind of thing. In today's environment, honestly, you could probably still be okay, because people just keep going after this stuff much longer than they used to. Example is GameStop. But, it used to be, as soon as you heard about it, it's pretty much done. So there's a lot more momentum in it. We can get into that. But I think usually by the time you're hearing about it, most of the people have already made their money. And so I think just being confident in your plan, and then it's less stress. Like, I was talking with a friend of mine, about, wanting to invest some money on the side. And he was talking about just the time commitment to do that is a lot, because he feels like he would be watching it all day, as far as like, oh, where are the stocks at, whatever. He's like, I got a 9 to 5. I still got to go, do that job that I like. I don't want to be spending time sitting in front of a computer, looking at these stocks all day. So it's just something to consider as far as the return of your time as well and your stress. And so I think it can be easy. Especially as you mentioned, the regret of seeing like, oh man, if I just would have bought at the absolute bottom and then sold at the absolute top, then I would have, gotten this much. It's like, well, you wouldn't have known like then that was the time to buy or the time to sell. So I think we do more harm than good when we kind of look back at that and just say, oh, what could have been? It's like, okay, I know I missed that one, but how was I going to know? I don't know what's coming up in the next year or two. So just sticking with our long-term perspective. I think a lot of this stuff is what we call short-term noise. So it's a lot of up and down in the short term. It's really not what we're worried about. What we're worried about is if you're truly investing, you're looking at a long-term perspective. And so I think keeping that in mind kind of helps me calm down, not feel like I'm going to miss out. Because I do get that way too. I see people making a bunch of money and I'm like, oh man, I should have been in that. Like, okay, take a breath. Still got a long-term perspective. I have my plan. Let's go execute. So that just helps me, keep that longer-term perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're talking to mostly probably millennials and Gen Z, but like my dad would basically say if it was bothering you, turn the news off.
Right.
And so, it's noise. It really is a short-term noise. And so when you hear about all these like potential crazy opportunities, it's fun, it's spicy, it's good news, it's good entertainment. People want to report it. Nobody wants to report about their 401k.
Yeah, it's not exciting.
It's not exciting. It's not. What we do is really, really boring, and nobody wants to record that and put that on Reddit or put that on in the news or anything like that. So basically, what you are seeing on social media and such like that is it's cool, it's fun, it's interesting, but it's not what the bulk of everybody else is doing to become successful.
And you don't see also the losses. You don't see as much those as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of losses that you're not hearing about involved in GME and a lot of the meme stocks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of losses.
Yeah. Anytime you see it go down, someone had to lose money on that. So a lot of people might have taken a hit with that.
Yeah. And I especially want to say this about cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Dogecoin, Ethereum, all that stuff. Those are interesting to look at. I'm very interested in cryptocurrencies as what they are. I do not see them as investments, and they're extremely volatile. And so a lot of people are saying, I've got so many friends saying, dude, you got to get into Bitcoin because, if you'd got in Bitcoin a couple of years ago, you'd be super, super rich. It's the same thing. It's just like the Tesla stock.
Yeah, I think a little bit's fine. I'm fine with a little bit in those things. I'm totally okay with it. I just see too many people loading up everything they got, taking out a bunch of debt, pouring it all into that. And that's when it just gets a little scary for me. I think if you want a portion of your portfolio to try to follow these trends, if you're okay losing it, then I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like if you can afford to lose it, then you do what you want.
Yeah.
With it.
Yeah. I think we talked about that last time, but it's basically like the same idea as going into a casino with, a set amount of money. You go in, you come out, you maybe lost it, you maybe won a bunch of money, but at least you spent that amount of money and nothing else.
Nothing more. Yeah. At least that's my
definitely,
view. Somebody takes a different view, but
be smart about it. Yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm fine with a little bit exposure to those. If it's truly reliable, if it's not just like, oh, my buddy said that this one random thing was gonna, go off. If you've done your research, it looks good. Sure, put a little bit in there, but don't put all your money into that.
Yeah, don't do it. Awesome. Righty, well, I think we're around about 30 minutes in, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that was it. Just get a good laugh out of Cody getting hurt doing softball. Yeah. I mean, you just can't beat it. So classic. He won't live it down. Glad you're taken care of, but you didn't have to worry about it. But it is funny,
and it's
you
good
tried,
to see.
And maybe I don't know if you hate softball now because I
wasn't
good at it, and then you got hurt, and so it's like, well, you just hate it. But.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all. I'm just being honest with you. I wish it was like, I'm going to stick with running. I understand running. It's very simple. One foot in front of the other, and you just keep going. There's way too much in softball. So I'll be cheering on my team like this.
Yeah.
That's about it. So.
Okay.
Well, all right, guys, but we really appreciate you listening. This has been episode 9 of the Will and Cody Show. If you got any questions, just go to our website, www.willandcody.com. Just send them our way, and we'll answer them on the next episode. So we appreciate you guys listening, and we will see you next time.
See you guys.